So I went to go see Man of Steel. It's directed by Zack Snyder and produced by Christopher Nolan. It's DC's newest effort to adapt comic book hero Superman to the big screen, and it doubles as a fancy IHOP commercial too, so... So yeah, just a wee bit of product placement in there. And if you keep your eye out, later on you'll see some Sears product placement too, so... Right, so unlike Superman Returns, this isn't really a continuation of the old late 70s, early 80s Superman movies. It's its own sort of reboot. It's redoing the whole Superman universe, kind of like Batman Begins did. Although, kind of like the original Donner version of Superman, this one does start off on Krypton. We're introduced to Superman's parents, and we're introduced to General Zod, and he ends up trying to do a military coup and gets sent to the Phantom Zone, and a lot of stuff from the old Superman movies in there a little bit. But it's different enough. It's much more sort of action sequency, and you know, there's Russell Crowe as Jor-El, Superman's father. He has to do a high-speed chase through the sky, and he has to jump into sort of this underwater thing to get the MacGuffin for the film, and there's a fight scene with General Zod as he's trying to hold him off while they send Clark Kent to Earth, and blah blah blah. It's much more modern action summer movie-ish. But yeah, once they send Clark Kent, Kal-El to Earth, it cuts to decades later. He's now a grown man, and he's sort of running from reality, trying to find himself, basically. So he's gone to the Pacific Northwest, where, you know, all good people go to find themselves. It's either that or hiking in Europe, I've noticed. So he's up there, and he eventually gets wind that there's a crazy military thing going on, and they end up finding a 18,000-year-old Kryptonian spaceship, and it sends out a distress call, and that's the MacGuffin to get General Zod to Earth, basically. And so movie ensues. There's really not a lot of depth to the movie. It's a lot of introspective, you know. It's set up. It's the introduction to the character. You know, they don't really say Superman but once in the entire movie. He's really mostly just Clark, or more often referred to as Kal-El, because you know, you may have seen the commercials. General Zod comes and demands Kal-El, and yeah, I have some problems with this movie, which makes me sad, because I really wanted to really like this movie. I wanted it to be as good as Batman Begins, and it's just not, unfortunately. And you know, that's just because out of all the DC superheroes, my favorites are really Superman and the Flash, and I like sort of the Boy Scout superheroes. I really do. I don't like the anti-heroes. I'm not a big Batman person. I never cared for Punisher. It's just, I like superheroes who do the right thing because it's the right thing, and they may have to wrestle with it and moral issues, and that's what I find fun about the characters. Not so much the violence and things like that. But yeah, this movie, it has some really unfortunate editing in there. Not all the time, but there's some really weird cuts, really bad cuts. Like, when an almost full theater of fans, people who go there really wanting to see a movie at a midnight release, when you make a cut, and it's just this off-the-wall, crazy, stupid-looking jump cut to the point where almost everyone in the audience laughs, and it's not meant to be a comic point, you know you've messed up somewhere. It's just weird cuts, and it does the thing where that happens a lot in bad action movies, where they do the worldwide broadcast of something, and it's the same time of day everywhere in the world. You know, that it drives me up the wall when it happens. It just seems like it's such an easy thing, and it happens multiple times in the movie. There's one point later in the movie where something is going on at complete opposite ends, like opposite sides of the Earth. That's kind of the thing. It's complete direct opposite, you know, poles of the Earth. And it's the same time of day at both ends. It's middle of the day on both sides of the planet. And early in the movie, you know, they do the General Zod announcement, and it's night everywhere in China, in Europe, in the Middle East. I think there was. It's night in Kansas. It's night everywhere on the planet all at once, and it's just so simple to not do that. What do they think they are? Like, what do they think people are? Stupid? There's that, and then the action sequences. Some of them look really cool. There's some really cool things that they do with, you know, the Superman is you know, the Kryptonians, they're sort of so fast that you can't really follow, you can't really see them, so they sort of blink around and do really cool looking stuff. But the downside of that is a lot of it is so fast that it's really hard to follow the action. It just becomes flashes of bright color and snippets of things, and it's unfortunate because, you know, Zack Snyder, the director, he did the action so well, I thought, in 300. I know not everyone liked the action scenes in that, but I thought they were fantastic, and he did some really fun action scenes in, of all things, the owl movie that he did, the Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole, or something like that. That had some really fun action. It was you could follow it, you could see it. It was much easier to process. And here it's just bright flashes of color because they're Kryptonians, so they're moving so fast, and it's a lot of, you know, now they're in the city and they're getting blown through walls, and oh hey, now they're in space, and now they're back on Earth, and it's not so much necessarily that it's just that they're moving so fast. That could work if you were given more of a long shot, and so you could take in more of the speed at once, but it's a lot of really tight, close action, moving really quickly, with a lot of color going on. And so it's, after a certain point, you can do it for a bit, but some of these action scenes are really protracted, and they go on for the last maybe third of the movie almost, maybe quarter of the movie. It does go on for quite a bit at the end, and it just, past a certain point, you sort of get action fatigue, if that makes any sense, because it's just action scene after another, after another, after another, after another, with there's, you know, breaks in between, but they're really not very long. They're little, you know, one scene, one scene, one scene, sort of short little breaks. Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because the rest of the movie I did enjoy, aside from the sort of couple snafus. I had fun with it. I mean, it was a nice introduction to the character. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the way he was portrayed. You know, the very sort of American, kind of doing the right thing because it's the right thing sort of person, but you know, he has issues with bullies as a kid, and you can see where he wants to fight back, but he knows it's the wrong thing to do, and you know, he sort of saves people just because he's there and he can, and it sort of goes into that, and I like that, because that's what I like about the character. And it could have been so much more. It could have been so much, and there were relatively easy things to do that would have fixed it in my mind. Just, you know, tighten up the action scenes, get rid of the sloppy editing, because the script was pretty solid. You know, not perfect, but it was pretty solid, and the acting was all really, really well done. Although I know it's sort of corny at this point, but I would have loved to see the you know, kneel before Zod sort of comment in there somewhere, but you don't need it. It just would have been fun for sort of nostalgia's sake in my mind, which is probably why they didn't do it. But yeah, just it was fun, but I don't know how good it was, if that makes any sense to you. Fun, but not really good. Just kind of okay, decent. You're not going to waste your money going to see it, summer action movie, but it's not something that you absolutely have to go out and see. If you like Superman, by all means, go and see it. You're going to see the introduction to the character. He doesn't really get the whole thing. It culminates with him becoming Superman, kind of like the same way Smallville sort of the arc of the TV show was, he finally becomes Superman at the end, like the Superman from the movies and the comic books. This is the same sort of idea. It's sort of the build up to him becoming Superman by the end of the movie, which is a nice idea, and hopefully it does well enough to get sequels. Because, as I said, it was fun. It was fun enough that I'd be willing to go see other movies. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Hopefully be a little bit more thorough, have a written review up later. It's really late as I'm doing this, so it might be up later in the day, but hopefully get it up sometime. And I actually got a sort of screener ticket for The Heat, which I'm not terribly looking forward to going to see, but free ticket to a movie. I'm actually advanced screening thing next week, so I'll have a thing up on The Heat next week. And probably I'll be seeing Monsters University next Friday. So, till then, enjoy film. Later.